The Wii version of Nintendo 64 classic GoldenEye almost didn't have guns in it because the James Bond producer did not really want anything that was violence. Can you imagine Bond without his iconic pistol pose? As a matter of fact, no, we cannot. So I seen this article and I thought it was pretty interesting, especially considering that GoldenEye, for anyone that doesn't know, is one of I feel like the staples in the first person shooter genre because of the fact that what it was able to include in the game itself. Obviously there was a lot of people that loved playing the story mode on it and doing like the missions and all that, but when it came down to the multiplayer, that was one of the things that really put FPS shooters on the map, because of the fact that it was like one of the ones that really gave people that experience of what it was going to be like to kind of have that multiplayer first person shooting type of experience. When it comes down to the fact that, there were other games like Doom or Duke Nukem where they did have first person shooting games. There was something special with the way that they were able to include that multiplayer where you could play with your friends in a player versus player kind of a way. So the fact that they were able to kind of bring this genre so heavily to be well known, I thought was really cool, and it was interesting with what they were going to be trying to do when it comes down to the Wii remake. So we'll go ahead and check out the article, and then I'll give my thoughts as we go along. So most people know James Bond as the globe-trotting, pistol-toting super spy, but one of the IP's owners didn't want 007 using any guns in the GoldenEye remake for the Wii, which is really weird. In an interview with the Grit podcast, spotted and transcribed by GameSpot, former Activision CEO Bobby Kotick reveals that behind the scenes secrets about the 2010 GoldenEye 007 game. Barbara Broccoli, or Broccoli, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced both ways, but personally I always say broccoli. So for anyone that doesn't know, Barbara Broccoli is actually the producer of the Bond franchise. She has the rights to the movies, so whatever they decide to do in the films, she's pretty much the one that has final say. So that, and then I'm pretty sure with the video games, if it's something that entails with the movies, like it's connected to the movie somehow or it's based off of the movies, I believe she has the right to be able to say what she wants included into it, kind of a thing. So yeah. So Barbara Broccoli didn't really want guns in the game, he says. Broccoli is the co-owner of the film franchise rights to James Bond, and while I love what she's done with the movies, I think keeping guns out of a sequel to one of the most iconic FPS games of all time would have been a misstep. GoldenEye is what actually sold the Nintendo 64, as Kotick notes. And yeah, that was one of the things. There's so many people to this day. I remember I had a buddy that we were talking about GoldenEye the other day, and even he was stating, he's like, "Man, I want to go back and play that game. Like it's been so long since I played it because I had so much fun with it." And I still own my copy on the 64, so I told him, I was like, "You ever want to come over, man? We can go ahead and play it." So yeah, it's one of those things. This game to this day this sticks with a lot of people who were able to enjoy it from when it was played back in the day. And yeah, the fact that she was thinking about kind of taking out guns in the game is just, it's such a weird take to me. And she'll go a little bit more into detail in the next paragraph right here, but it just, the fact that that was even considered is so weird, especially like when it's like how it states that, GoldenEye was one of the staples that helped sell the 64 to higher sales and everything like that. So it's a weird one. We made a sequel and it was a challenging thing to make because Barbara Broccoli did not really want anything that was violence, Kotick says. He goes on to explain that she was wary of including guns and violence because of how much kids love the spy, but James Bond does a lot of things that aren't exactly kid friendly in the films. And I feel like that's such a weird take because when you really think of James Bond fans and everything like that, the majority of them are older people. It's not kids. And the reason I feel like she probably felt this way was because of the fact that it's James Bond in a video game, and especially back in, the early 90s, and then around this time when the game was being remade, so 2010, video games were still kind of looked at as like a kid hobby kind of a thing. More so kids played it than adults. It wasn't really where it's at today, where there's like really good graphics and then storytelling that can really, a lot of older people can enjoy and really appreciate. So my guess is that she was probably making this statement because she didn't want kids playing this, because of the fact that, it was such a kid, like a game that a lot of kids played. Because at the end of the day, when I played this game, I was young. I was really young. So it was probably, I wouldn't say I was too young to be playing this game, because at the end of the day, it's not too bad. But yeah, the fact that, there's children that were going to be playing these games would be my guess as to why she didn't want anything that included violence. But when you think about it, it is really weird because, like they state, there's a lot of stuff that James Bond does in the films that aren't kid friendly. He goes around, he kills bad guys, he sleeps with beautiful women. You know what I mean? He lies to kind of get what he needs to do to be able to complete his mission. So the fact that that was even being considered for me, I think is really odd of an opinion as to why you wouldn't want guns in the game of all things. Especially because, when it comes down to this game, if you take the guns out, it's really not going to be the same game whatsoever. It's like, what are you going to have them do? Like running around just punching people kind of a thing, or like stabbing people? Because I'm like, that'll probably end up being worse. So it's a weird take to hear. So it also would have been tough not to use guns because that's what everyone would be expecting from a James Bond game that utilizes the Wii motion sensors. Exactly. What's cooler than actually feeling like 007 himself doing his iconic pose with your Wiimote? Actually, now that I've typed it out, a lot of things would be cooler, but it's still fun to do. And yeah, especially with the Wiimote, you know what I mean? Because that was one of the things that really helped sell that console was the gimmick of you are actually able to kind of control how the characters are going to move, what they're going to do, how they're going to move around. So I'm sure there was lots of people that were excited to see this game come out on the Wii so that they could be kind of holding up their arms like if they are shooting and they are like actually James Bond in that first person kind of a feel. So it's just for me, I don't know, man. It's just a weird one that was even being considered, but luckily that wasn't the case because obviously the game came out and they did have it be kind of to the style of the original, which is what it should be at the end of the day. So during the interview, Kotick also says the former EA and Unity CEO was the worst CEO in video games. John Riccitello, if I pronounced that wrong, I apologize, did oversee Unity's disastrous plans to charge developers every time someone downloaded a game using the software, and made comments about getting players to pay to reload in Battlefield. That's a weird one right there. Paying to reload in Battlefield? That's bizarre as hell. So he's no saint, but Kotick is maybe the most controversial gaming CEO there is, with a lawsuit brought against Activision Blizzard accusing Kotick of ignoring credible allegations of misconduct within the company. So I'm not really going to get into that as far as, the CEOs and everything like that, but just that fact that they're planning on charging for reloading into Battlefield, that's a wild one, man. I definitely would have killed the game if that would have came out. But yeah, if those were the individuals that were in charge at EA and you know what I mean, that were had the rights to 007 at the time, that probably just shows that why we don't really have any more recent James Bond games that have come out that have just been really fun to play. Because if those are the individuals that were in charge back in the day, it kind of may explain why the James Bond games have kind of fallen off in the past couple of years. Now, I know that there's a James Bond game that's in the works right now, and I'm actually excited for it. I did a video on it months ago, I think like back in October. So hopefully that one will kind of bring new light to the character and the franchise itself and hopefully get some new fans in. But yeah, as far as like decisions like this, I think it's just odd, man, that this is kind of even being considered. But luckily that wasn't the case. Luckily they were like players were able to get, 007 GoldenEye the way that it originally was with the guns and, everything like that. So it's just a weird one when it comes down to producers and stuff like that. It's like, man, just let the developers do their thing and let them kind of make the games that they can make that made it special to begin with. So those are my thoughts on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Do you guys think it would have been odd that they would have taken guns out? Personally, I think the game would have failed at that point, and chances are it probably would have hurt the developing company as well in a severe way. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you guys could like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys have been watching this long, I really appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, Harmonic out. Peace.